Hi everyone, welcome to the first of a series of devlogs where I will give you the opportunity to follow me in an adventure. The adventure being to program an NES game. But not only that, not any NES game. So let's jump right into it. Do you know this game? Yeah, right. You just stumble into a random YouTube video and the guy starts with a pop quiz, right? How's that gonna work out for a hook? No, so if you know this game, this is Magic Carpet 1001. If you grew up in South America and parts of Asia, you probably know very well this game. This probably have been part of your childhood, playing the NES or something like the NES. But if you grew up in the US, North America in general, or Europe, you also might know this game. You might know it as part of the Caltron 6-in-1 multi-cartridge, an unlicensed game. And this cartridge is actually pretty famous, or infamous, I should say, because it has the whole history of about the Myriad company buying a lot of those cartridges and just slapping a new stick on top of them, and that somehow made them worth thousands of dollars nowadays. But you know, there is something that I don't see around on YouTube videos coming from North America, which is the fact that some of these 6 games were actually released individually, and this is one of them. So before, I should say, I am not sure if this was before or after, but around the same time that the Caltron cartridge was being released in North America, the Magic Carpet 1001 game was also being released in South America and Asia. And actually, if you Google it, if you go around about it, you see that there is more information about it in Portuguese and in Spanish than in any other language. And the reason for that is that this game being licensed by Nintendo was actually legal to make it elsewhere. Legal in a sense. I can get more into the Brazilian side of the NES in a future devlog, but suffice to say that we didn't have the proper NES growing up. We grew up with what most people call Famiclones. And so this game, not being a licensed Nintendo game, could be released in Brazil without any problems. Not that the license ever held anyone back around here, but that's a story for another time. Anyway, people around South America and Asia seem to like this game very much, and I'm included in that. So let me show you the game itself, and if you stay around, you might look where this is going. So for those that don't know, this game is a shooter, or maybe nowadays we call this a shmup, or even a cute 'em up, because the art direction is not very serious, right? And also, if you pay attention, you've seen this bee and this duck before, haven't you? Do you know where they are from? So this bee comes from Mega Man 3. It comes from the stage that I remember it the most is Hardman's stage, where there is a big mechanical bee that drops a beehive on top of you, and the small bees follow you. These are the small bees. So this is a stolen sprite. And the ducks, they come from Gradius. Can you think about that? Can you imagine? So these guys in Taiwan are doing a shoot 'em up, and they are stealing sprites from Konami and Capcom. But the other sprites, I actually think they're original. I looked around and I cannot find this Arab man, this Bedouin, which is flying on a rocket across the desert. Yeah, talk about imagination. And the game is actually not that bad. I mean, when you think in licensed games, we just think about the worst of the worst. But this is actually a good balanced shooter. There is some variety of enemies. The patterns are always the same, so it makes it good to predict. So you learn from experience. And I was actually able to beat this game when I was young. And the art itself is not that bad. Come on, look at those clouds, right? Those are very well drawn, except for the camels on the back. Oh, there's the boss. So the camels on the back, if you think about it, they are so far away. They are probably ginormous. Come on, these are camels are Godzilla's cousin. I don't know. And then when you reach the end of the stage, you're flying through a desert, fighting Bedouins in rockets, and the boss is a witch in a broom. How cool is that? Right? Talk about variety. Of course, the game itself is really bare bones. There are no effects in the background, barely no animation. In fact, when you start poking around the game, you discover that the game loads its palette, all of the colors, only once. And all of the game is designed around the fact that the palettes are constant around the whole game. And again, if you stick around, I will I will show you how this game was made. And this is why I'm doing this devlog. So while I play, let me talk about this. I'm a programmer. I live in Brazil. I'm a professor at a Brazilian university. I'm actually a physicist, and I work with computational physics. So I do simulations of physical process for a living. I simulate particle physics detector, high energy physics, quantum mechanics, relativity, that kind of stuff. But my hobby is playing video games. Oh, there, I got a game over. Um, and most of the time I program in C++, which it is an amazing language if you want to be a game developer. But I don't want to be a game developer. I'm a professor. I do this for a living. I work with simulations as part of my research. But in my free time, I like this. I like playing old retro games. And in fact, a few years ago, when everyone was at home doing everything from home, including teaching and doing research, I started thinking that, well, programming an NES game from scratch couldn't be that hard, right? And there are a lot of resources around. If you look into how the homebrewers of today do, that's an amazing community, and I learned a lot from them. There's plenty of tutorials around. But as a programmer myself, I find that learning from somebody else's code, it's it's just an experience. It's not just the programming language that you're learning. You're getting glimpses of what that person went through, their line of thoughts when they were developing the program. And I wanted to do that as well. But in order to do that, I needed a game, a full, complete game that would, it would have comments on them so I could understand what was going on. Oh, by the way, I'm a Brazilian, as I told you, and English is not my first language. I get around a lot because of physics. I speak English a lot. I write more English than Portuguese by now. But come on, my English sucks. At the end of the day, I have an accent and I'm not going to apologize for it. But I just want to let you know that I will get something wrong more often than I would like to admit. So be warned, okay? Okay, back to the game. I would like to have a game, a full NES game, preferably something that was actually released back then. And I really like this game. I don't have it here right now, but in another video I can show you guys. I have the actual Taiwanese cartridge, not the Caltron one, the one that was released in Taiwan, the country where this game was developed. And this game was developed by only 5 people. One of them was a programmer, like me. So I figured um, I could do this, right? And what most people don't get it about these old games, up until the Mega Drive, I could say. Later, PlayStation, N64, and Saturn, it gets complicated. But up until the 16-bit era, you can just disassemble a game because the games were written in assembly, which is just a proxy name for programming using the instructions of the CPU or the chips, the PPU, the CPU, whatever makes your console. So you have a list of instructions and you're giving orders to the CPU to move data around. And that's just, you write that with words, which are just mnemonics. Those are just symbols that are directly translated to binary. In other words, if you have the code, if you have the ROM, you have the source code. You just have to disassemble. Of course, it doesn't come with the comments, but if you go through the code and you know the language, you know the instructions, and you have a basis of programming anything, you will eventually understand what was at the mind of the guys that programmed this. And so I did. And actually, now, after 2 years, I actually have the complete source code for Magic Carpet 1001. And the thing is, this game still belongs to someone. It belongs to a company called Asder on Taiwan. Wikipedia says they are still around. I've been trying to contact them on the phone. I tried several numbers and I couldn't. So I'm still looking for them. I want to do this legally. But in fact, this is an unlicensed game. So unless the company actually asks us to stop, if you have the ROM, you have the source code. So do this at your own risk. But from today, I'm making this repository at GitHub public. There you go. You have the source code for a legit NES game. I mean, it's not licensed, but it was released. It has a physical form on cartridge and actually works without bugs. It's actually a good game. It's well programmed. And I did this because I wanted to learn. And now I want to share this experience with you guys. I learned so much going through this. And I think that if people do this too, if they go through the code, they can actually learn just as I did. So I can show you quickly. This is the source code. This is the main file. And I tried to comment it. I tried to comment it as much as I could, including what the routines do, the macros, and everything. And I did this for me, and but it's not perfect. But I also did it thinking that people could benefit from it later. This is a good programming habit to comment your code. It's not fully commented. You still need, I still need to go through the sound engine, which is, if you ever did this, it is the worst part. So I still have the time, but I thought, okay, it is good enough that people can start learning from this. So I won't hold it, I won't hide it anymore. So there you go. You can download this repository and you can execute. So if you are on Linux, you can run the build.sh script to compile. If you are on Windows, you can run the build.bat, the BAT file. And if you do that, you will end up with a NES ROM. And guess what? The one that's playing in the background, this one, this is compiled from the source code. If you do a diff, this and the original one, they are the same bit to bit. So this is a pretty amazing story, but this is in the past. This wouldn't be a devlog if I was telling you guys about something that already happened. This is just so you can come here and try to learn for yourself. And hopefully people can get behind it and we can have some documentation that I don't. I didn't do a documentation for it, but we could actually build a tutorial from scratch teaching how to program this game, right? Um, but I mean, I have the source code and I did this for a reason. I love shooters, as I told you before. I'm a sucker for shooters. I like Gradius. I like the easy ones, the hard ones. And don't fool yourself. This game can get pretty hard at the end. There is a cheat code that I didn't know growing up, and I just found out looking at the source code. So I discovered a cheat code and then I saw it. I saw on the internet. People knew about this. It was just me. I didn't know. Um, but there is a cheat that makes it easier, right? And the reason I did is because I wanted to do it myself. I want to program my own game. And I actually got inspired by this guy. I don't remember his name right now, but I will put his channel in the description as well. He he has been live streaming his journey programming a shooter on the NES from scratch, and he developed all his tools and everything. It is amazing, and I will leave the link so you can check it out. And I said, okay, he knew assembly. At least he knew enough. I didn't know anything, or I didn't know enough. And now I do. I know enough to actually teach other people about this. And I mean, I'm not claiming I know more than anyone, please. Um, I know, I've seen what people do around. That people know a lot about this. I'm just scratching the surface, but I know enough to motivate other people to pass the torch and let other people start learning as I did with the source code of Magic Carpet. But again, why are you here? You're here because I'm going to develop my own game. And that's going to take a while. I will do a shooter. I will start from scratch. I won't be using any of this code when I do it. But in the meantime, come on, we have the source code. This game is begging to be updated, right? I mean, look at this stage. Look at the art. Look at those clouds. That person was clearly thinking about doing parallax effects. You know, DNS has only one background. And if you do line scrolling using the proper mapper, which expands the NES capacity, you can scroll the camera as it's drawing the screen and give the illusion that you are in a 3D environment. So maybe they didn't have the mapper at the end. Maybe it would cost too much to replicate it. Remember, this is unlicensed, so they didn't have access to the mapper, the original one from Nintendo. So maybe they thought they could, the artists thought it could be done, but at the end of the day, what matters is the chip that goes into the cartridge. And this one, the original one, didn't have the capacity for doing parallax, but we do. So between stolen assets and backgrounds that were done thinking about more um, something more, right? Thinking about doing something more elegant, more visual, with more flair. I mean, come on, we can remake this game. So let's do it. This video is to announce that I have a team in Brazil. It's me, it's an artist, two artists actually, a musician and a producer. And we are remaking this game. So what you know as Magic Carpet 1001, it's going to become 1001 Nights Magic Carpet Remake. Of course, because everything needs a subtitle. It's the new millennium. Come on, everything needs a subtitle. So 1001 Nights, it's going to be a complete remake of this game using the MMC3 mapper, the one used for most of the Mega Man and the Capcom games. So it's a pretty good mapper. It will allow us to do line scrolling. So we will be able to implement those parallax effects. And actually, we will do much more than that. So we will build a more complete story told on cutscenes. And I don't want to spoil too much, but we have, oh, come on. We have sketches for the game, for the current stages, for new stages. Everything is going to be redrawn. The music is going to be rescored. I will probably use one of the available sound engine for that. I will not be programming a sound engine, but what I want to do, so I want to reprogram all the logic behind the stage loading, the scrolling, the animations can be improved, the balance of the game, the power ups. I actually want to implement something like an internal timer for speedrunning because I know speedrunning is awesome. I love it, and I will rebalance the game in a way that it can be speedrun. And let's see where this goes. We don't have a deadline. We are starting. We already have a demo. We showed the demo in a Brazilian, in actually a couple of video game events in Brazil. But I won't spoil it right now, right? That's for another video because the demo itself is I made it up with patches of the game and the new engine, the new scrolling engine, and it's full of bugs. I must say, it's not my best work. So I'm restarting it, and I will be recording me programming, not the full thing. I might edit out so it's not boring. It will be boring, but if you're here, you're interested. So um, it is what it is, right? It's someone programming a game on YouTube. Why would you want, right? Why wouldn't it be boring for most people? But it's interesting if you like this stuff. So please, if you want to see this, I will do it weekly, probably, and I hope to have the game done in 2 or 3 months, actually. So it will be quite fast. For people that already subscribe to my channel, there are not too many, and I'm sure they are all Brazilians. They are all used to see other videos of me speaking Portuguese. I will put subtitles, but I am doing this in English because I think this actually deserves a wider audience. I actually want people from other countries to be able to join us and to learn from this game. This is not a perfect game. It's not flawless, but it's very well done. And I want to congratulate the programmers, or actually the programmer that did this. There are a lot of curiosities going through the code, so stay tuned. If you want to see how the original game works, and how we are going to remake it on the same platform, stay tuned. And I see you in the next video. Bye for now.